So it was a leap of faith. It was scary. And I just decided to delve into an arena that I had absolutely no experience in. Initially, Ken, I don't know if you know the history of Luvafoodie, but it started out as an online dating website for singles.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset, everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer. Be sure to head over to clicksandbricksacademy.com so you can access all the resources to start improving your sales today.
Welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. My name is Ken. Today I have Michelle with us. She's the owner, CEO, and founder of Luvafoodie. She does holistic natural spices and holiday treats. But before we bring Michelle on, if you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. I'll never try to sell you anything. I'll just send you some tips and tricks on business, technology, NFTs, and crypto. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and about your business, Luvafoodie?
Sure. Well, I am the CEO, owner, creator, one-woman solo entrepreneur for Luvafoodie. And Luvafoodie is a clean eating and a clean drinking brand that connects people together who share a passion for food and beverage. That's the, summary of Luvafoodie. I started the company myself 7.5 years ago, and I'm still the solo owner.
Fantastic. So you haven't brought in any investors at all. This is all your baby, your show. You're the founder of your own destiny.
I am it.
Fantastic.
I hope to bring investors on at some point, but so far I've been able to navigate this by myself.
Okay.
And grow it into a little business that I had never thought 7.5 years ago would morph into what it is today.
Fantastic. So you were in corporate America, consumer products for several years before you decided to make this jump and go into business on your own. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your mindset? And that's a big jump, right? You have a corporate America, you got insurance, you got a paycheck every month, you've got all of these things, and I'm assuming you got a mortgage and a family and all those things that you have to deal with as well. Leaving that security is a scary thing to do. Can you tell the audience what your mindset was like in that journey from corporate America security to founder of your own destiny in 2014?
Sure. Well, first, it was a very scary leap. I had a company car too. What happened though is kind of a defining moment. The company that I was working for at the time decided to sell off their North America business. It was Sara Lee. And my past experience had been selling to large customers like Target and Walmart for large CPG, which is consumer products companies, for many, many, many years. And when Sara Lee decided to sell off their business units in North America, it was sort of a defining moment. Like, what do I do? I was in my, we'll say mid-40s, which is true. And I thought, well, I could, I'm really kind of tired of corporate America. I've have the skill sets possible to go and create a brand and a business. And I guess if I'm going to do it, now's the time to do it. So it was a leap of faith. It was scary. And I just decided to delve into an arena that I had absolutely no experience in. Initially, Ken, I don't know if you know the history of Luvafoodie, but it started out as an online dating website for singles who are foodies.
Oh, really? That's where you started, and then you transitioned to, okay. I love the concept. I had a concept not similar to that years ago. I got sued for, and I'm not allowed to talk about it too much, but I'm not allowed to give the name out. So that is cool. That's a neat concept.
It was very cool. I'm single. I'll tell everybody I'm single. I am a foodie. And I thought, geez, if there was only a website out there for singles who are foodies that connected people, who have the shared interest of going out to eat, cooking, trying other recipes. And so I created a website with my team, and we built a platform that had algorithms in it and how to connect people who had shared interests, whether it, was a beer or eating Mexican food or going out for Chinese or whatever your interests were. There was a profile that you created on the website, and we connected people together who had similar interests in food and beverage.
Fantastic. And then you pivoted that into consumer products, which was more in your wheelhouse.
Totally. Totally. And I think to let your audience know is, as an entrepreneur, it is extremely important to pivot when you need to. And even though the concept was one thing, after about a year and a half, I knew that it needed to morph into something else. And after 6 months, because my wheelhouse was sales, it was creating product, I came out with a line of caramels, fresh caramels with the Luvafoodie brand on it. And it was very successful. And that's when I made the decision, you know what, the dating website, it was a good idea, but that's really not where I want to stay with the brand. Let's create a clean eating and clean drinking brand. And it went from caramels to chocolates to spices, and it's continued to grow into some other categories we could talk about a little bit later.
Fantastic. So you start 2014, leave corporate America, start Luvafoodie, collaborate or a meeting place for food, people that love food and being foodies, right? Maybe dating, maybe not, who knows, who cares? And then that struggle, right? I know that industry very, very well, the online dating world, and it is cutthroat. It is very, very aggressive. And yeah, I'm actually not even allowed to be back into that industry. We settled on a suit that I can never do that business again. So you know,
like, yeah, and to that point, Ken, there's really two companies that own all the dating websites.
Absolutely.
And I went to a couple conferences and I realized I didn't have I knew I didn't have $1 million, but to get critical mass, you have to have a minimum of $1 million to do advertising. And I thought, okay, the idea was good conceptually for me, but this is completely out of my wheelhouse. This isn't an area that I want to stay in. And I made a change fast.
Right. So, and my advice, and I'll tell, just because we're talking about the dating websites, and I have a ton of experience. If you look up Ken Cox and I think it was a WIPO, WIPO case where they sued me in the Geneva Convention. The people that own the dating world online sites today are cutthroat. They are businessmen. They say it's all about love, but this is all about business for them. And if you're going to get into that industry, when you start getting some traction's around 100,000 users, they have so many trademarks and patents on online dating that you're probably violating one of them, and they will file suit against you, and they will do it very aggressively. So if you want to be in that business, make sure that you got your ducks in a row and make sure you have the funds to defend your position. Absolutely. And do a lot of work on the intellectual property side, because there's a ton of patents and trademarks wrapped around the online dating system. So I applaud you for going into that industry and having the courage to rush at it, and then seeing that, holy cow, this is a burden that I'm going to have to overcome, and then making that change. So that was probably not an easy change at all to do. I know for me, whenever I have to make a pivot, and I've done a couple in my life, they're really challenging for me to know where to pivot to. How did you make the decision to pivot into, obviously you love a foodie, now you're back to consumer products? Did that just come natural to you, or was that a pretty hard decision to make?
Well, actually, while it was still a dating website, 6 months after getting into this industry, and there were so many challenges and so many hurdles that I said, okay, I need to start monetizing some things. And so I came out with a line, and my background is sales. I sold for my entire life right out of college. So I came out with a line of caramels with the Luvafoodie brand on, and I got into stores right here locally in the Twin Cities right away. And so while it was still a dating website, I was selling caramels. And so at that point, after about, maybe eight months of it being a dating website, I realized, okay, this isn't going to be a dating website for very long. I just need more products other than caramels, and I'm going to transition into a consumer products brand. And my experience selling other companies' products was easy for me to do, as far as creativity, coming up with, a line. That wasn't the hard part. The hardest part was probably deciding when to actually just drop the website for dating and convert it over to a consumable brand platform.
Right. So So you're in the consumer products world. I'm assuming you have co-packers, or you?
Yes.
So you outsource all of the packing to co-packers. So you make the recipes and you take that out to a co-packer. Can you tell the audience? I'm sure there's a lot of people out in the world that have this great idea and they want to do that, right? Can you tell? And what I think that you did, and maybe not consciously did it with your caramels, is that you tested a market and then you saw that it worked and then you continued to do that. Steve Harvey has a great speech that he does about, if you want to make $1 million, the first thing you got to do is figure out how to make 10 and then do that again and then do that 10 times and then do that 10 times and then do that 10 times. And that's what you did with the caramels. Now, you've made the decision to add additional products. You had a product that was working well, right, in the caramel line, and you keep pushing that. Do you have a process for adding new products? How do you make the decision on, I'm going to make this a product? Do you always test them, or do you make that commitment to the co-packer really early?
So the caramels were wonderful, but there was a problem with them. And whenever I see a problem, you can either fix it or you say, this isn't going to work, and you move on, and you move on fast. And you have a solution to what's going to replace those items or products or whatever the problem is. And so the problem with the caramels was there was no, it's a good problem and a bad problem. There's no artificial ingredients in any of my products. And so there was no shelf life, or very, very short shelf life. So I'd sell them the caramels, and then I'd have the pressure to go to the stores and try to demo them or sell them before the store would have an expiration date. Well, it became sort of a nightmare because I couldn't sell out the product fast enough, and I didn't want to have the stores, have old product or want a credit. So I started realizing I had to come out with a more shelf-stable product versus caramels. So I transitioned into chocolates, which had a longer shelf life. So I went from caramels to chocolates, and it was very upsetting for a lot of my buyers and customers because they loved the caramels. They're like, where are your caramels? Like, sorry, they went to heaven. They're gone. But look at these great chocolates. Right. And then I went from chocolates to spices, and I had started entering a lot of recipe contests, and I was winning a lot of. I won a trip to Italy. I won a pizza contest, and the grand prize was a trip to Italy for Caveat wine. And so my whole counter in my kitchen is tons and tons of spices. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to come out with a gourmet line of spices that doesn't have fillers in it, because the majority of the spices in the marketplace all have silicon dioxide. And so I went from chocolates to spices, and there again, the shelf life is at least a year. So I wasn't racing to the store to try to sell and demo a spice that was going to expire. So I pivoted from sort of confections to spices because of the longer shelf life, in knowing that there was a need to have a gourmet spice line out there that didn't have fillers. So I filled a gap, I filled a need, and yet I also satisfied what I needed to do is have a shelf-stable product.
Right. And shelf-stable products, and I buy, in one of my stores, I have not a whole lot of supplements, but I have a supplement line because I own a gym. And in that, we do have some protein bars, and shelf life is huge, wildly important because they don't fly off the shelves really fast, right? And they're like a year. So what's a caramel shelf life? 6 weeks?
It was like 6 weeks.
Yeah. So that's really hard. About the only way you can do that, I think, is just direct consumer from the website, if that's the business that you wanted to be in for the caramels, right? Because it's really hard for a business owner that owns a grocery store or a retail store to put something to make a commitment to a product that has a 6-week shelf life, right? Because they've got to turn over their entire inventory, and they really don't want to be ordering and managing that one product unless it has really high margins, right? And I'm assuming that caramel probably has a high margin, but it's not a high dollar amount margin, right?
Right. And I was in only local stores, and at that time, I don't think I had a store on the website, and I wasn't on Amazon or Walmart.com yet. Okay. So it was only like 3 or 4 caramels, and I was only in the stores, not a store presence yet online. And so, yeah, it was just the right thing to say goodbye to the caramels, move into, and really the spices, Ken, are 90% of my business. I mean, I have like 17 different flavors. I'm a solution-based person. I found out 5 years ago I had heart disease. I don't know if you know this, but I was misdiagnosed. I had a stent put in my LAD, and then I had a heart attack. So after that, I became actively involved with American Heart Association, and I created 6 salt-free spices. So, instead of the brand out there that most people are familiar with, that's salt-free, which isn't that exciting and the packaging isn't that great, I said, okay, I can come out with a better, a more attractive spice and interesting flavors like citrus lovers, ginger lime, and so I created the salt-free spices. And then I'll fast forward because I know we're, don't have forever time, but I think one of the most important things to know about me is when I have a problem, I try to fix it. And I had a dog for 3.5 years. She just passed away. She passed away at 17 and a half, but she was sick. And she was almost, I don't know what happened. Let's see. There we go.
We're good.
Anyway, I created a line of spices for Lucy, and this is actually what she looks like. She was a Shih Tzu.
Okay.
And she was sick, and she stopped eating, and she had a seizure. And I'm like, okay. The vet that I took her to for 13 years said, put her down. She's got brain cancer. Well, no, she didn't have brain cancer. And I said, no. So I switched vets, and I started working with my vet, and I created a line of spices for cats called Cat Lovers and dogs called Dog Lovers. And Lucy lived another 3.5 years. And this spice, you mix into their dog food, and it helps stimulate their appetite. It has all the natural herbs that are good for dogs: basil, parsley, turmeric, cinnamon, and ginger. And dogs love it. So that's an interesting little tidbit about me that, it just naturally happened. I never would have created a line of spices for dogs or cats had Lucy not gotten sick.
Interesting. So I've had my own struggles with health in my life, and I account most of those to the American diet and being an entrepreneur that didn't take care of myself first. I took care of everybody else first. And that's something I'm pretty passionate about, is getting health and wellness into business owners across the world, because I think a lot of businesses shut down when the founder or the entrepreneur that's running them, has a heart attack or a stroke or anything like that. The business just falls apart. And in most of those, 10 to 50 employees are now abandoned. They don't know where to go, and then their families and all those things. So that's something that's really important to me. And I know how important whole foods are and to get these poisons out of our diets. And I think what America today thinks is, all of these things, they're not really bad for you. And they're not wrong in very, very small doses. But what's happening is that we're consistently minorly poisoning our bodies. Can you tell us a little bit about your mindset on how important it is as an entrepreneur to make sure that they're eating whole foods?
Right. Well, I've always, not been a big fan of processed foods. I don't eat fast food. I mean, there's certain chains that I will eat at that I think are a little bit healthier. But so I've always had a clean diet and a clean mentality as far as what I put in my mouth. But then when I got heart disease, when I found out I had heart disease, it just escalated my mission. And my mission is really to help people live a healthier life and share my story. Because I was misdiagnosed, I became an advocate and a brand ambassador for American Heart. And so Luvafoodie sort of morphed into, it was a line of grilling spices. And then I created the salt-free line. And now really all my spices are non-GMO. They're all gluten-free except umami, which is a flavor that has soy sauce in it, which has gluten in it. But I think it's important for me as the owner and entrepreneur that I believe in what I'm consuming. And, I think all my years of selling stuff, I was most successful when I sold a brand or worked for a company where I consumed it myself. So, because first of all, you're more believable and you talk the talk, and that's what Luvafoodie is. I use all my spices. The Dog Lovers was created for the one that I love the most in my life, which is my dog Lucy. And so Luvafoodie is who I am. It's hard to say. It's really hard for it not to be anything other than it's just an extension of Michelle.
Fantastic. If somebody wanted to, is it just luvafoodie.com? Is that how they would find your products?
Yes, and it's LUVAFOODIE.com.
Right.
You could also shop on Amazon or Walmart, but the majority of all my stuff, not everything is on both of those two other websites. So I would say go to Luvafoodie for everything.
Okay. And I've had the milk chocolate bar. My wife's had the dark chocolate bar. They're fantastic. Absolutely. And there's no fillers in those either? All natural chocolate, so it's a healthy chocolate.
Yep.
So if you like chocolate, Luvafoodie, the chocolate bars are amazing.
Hot chocolate on a stick. I don't know if I sent you those. These are great things to have during the winter. I know you live in St. Louis. I live in Minneapolis. Great stocking stuffers. But here again, you got 1 ounce of pure chocolate stirred in either hot milk or hot coffee. It's great.
Fantastic.
Great fun and also, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to mention my all-natural instant cold brew iced tea line. I have 4 flavors. 2 are green tea, caffeine-free, and they are flavored with all-natural flavoring, no artificial flavors. So the raspberry is naturally flavored. The blood orange is fantastic. Those are the 2 green tea caffeine-free ones. And then I've got 2 with black tea. And there's lots of natural benefits of drinking tea. I have a passion fruit and then a lemon lovers. So those 4 flavors of instant cold brew iced tea are also on luvafoodie.com. And you basically take a large sachet, you let it soak in 8 cups of cold water, brewed near the sun or in the sun for 8 hours, and you have 8 cups of delicious, clean drinking iced tea.
Fantastic. And everything that we eat today, if it's off the shelf, my daughter has a tree nut allergy, so we're really conscious about reading every single thing that we read. And every single thing that we buy off the shelf just about is filled with 30 or 40 words that we don't even know how to pronounce. So
exactly,
it's not good for you. So if we can choose like to buy the ones that say only 4 ingredients or something like that, we lean that way. We could do a lot better. I'm sure everybody could do a lot better. But all right, so get down to the nitty gritty of it. If you could give advice to one entrepreneur or somebody, a woman specifically, because you're a woman entrepreneur, and I think that the world needs more of those. A 25-year-old woman today that wanted to chase her passion, that's working in corporate America, what advice would you give her to get started on the path of owning her own future?
Well, my one advice would probably be you have to want this more than anything else you've ever wanted, because you're going to work harder than you ever anticipated. If somebody had told me, look in a crystal ball, you will work 24/7, I wouldn't have believed them. I would, oh no, I'll take a day off or a holiday. No, you as an entrepreneur, as a solo entrepreneur in the beginning, you have to have that passion and drive to want it more than anything. If you do, then go for it, because it's very rewarding. It's there's nothing like having that gratification that you created this, and every time I create a new line or a new flavor, I feel very worthy and proud of myself. But you have to have that drive and passion to want it more than anything. And if you don't, if there's other things in your life that you want to fit in, which is not bad, then don't do this, because you won't be successful, because it takes that much work.
Yeah, if you don't have support from your family, from everybody around you, then it's going to be really, really challenging. I mean, it's going to be challenging no matter what. But without the support of your friends and family, it's going to be even more challenging. And I don't think you can count on the support of your friends. Your immediate family, husband, wife, parents, those are the ones that matter. Children, those are the ones that matter. Cousins, they're not going to give you support either, right? It's just not in their wheelhouse to do for you what you would think they would do, or what you would even do for them, because you understand where you're at in life. So absolutely. Right. My trick for keeping that what I'm passionate about and keeping doing it, because sometimes there's a lot of work in entrepreneurship that you don't like doing, but you have to do it anyway. And that's just remembering and I call it my super why, right? Your why are you doing this? What are you trying to achieve? For you, it was heart disease. For me, it's my son, right? And everybody needs that why, and that why can be that one staple in your life that, even though you're doing something you're super passionate about. I love technology. I love talking to people, but some days it gets it drains me, right? So, but if I can think about my why, then I can get back to that, because, even baseball players love playing baseball, but if you do it 90 times a year, it kind of gets repetitive. So, loving what you do is wildly important, and knowing why you do it, I think those two things together can couple you for success pretty majorly.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. And, I when I'm in a store, I will always remember this customer said to me, Michelle, thank you for putting smiles on our face when we taste your product. And I remember that. And so, complete strangers when I'm in a store, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's the gratitude. That's
Absolutely
one of my whys.
Nothing feels better than creating something that somebody else genuinely enjoys, right?
Exactly.
It is such a gratifying feeling. So fantastic. Before we go, do you have anything that you would like to leave the audience with?
Follow your dreams, follow your passion, and it will lead you to where you should be.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Michelle. It was a joy having you on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's it for today, folks. Again, my name is Ken. This is Clicks and Bricks. And if you'd like to join my text line community, it's 314-370-2871. Get to work.